Edward II is a historical play as well as a chronicle play by Christopher Marlowe. Christopher Marlowe was one of the important figures of the university wits. In fact, he was the best among the university wits, and Marlowe has written almost every single dramatic output in the form of tragedy. As you know, his best tragedy is Dr. Faustus, and today we will be reading the summarized version of Edward II. So, what you are going to get in this content about the play, and then you get the definition of the chronicle play, and then you will get the act and scene wise summary, and you will also get the important topics for discussion. So, about the play, we have to say something, that is Edward II. The full title is Edward II, the troublesome reign and lamentable death of Edward II, King of England, with the tragical fall of proud Mortimer. So the title, full title of the play clearly indicates the two important aspects of the play. One is the lamentable death of Edward II, another is the tragical fall of proud Mortimer. So these are the two important figures who are going to feature in this entire play. Okay, then just have a quick review on what we can call chronicle play. A chronicle play has five major things. First of all, chronicle play adapts story from history or chronicle. In case of Edward II, it has adapted the story from Hollinsworth Chronicle. And then history play begins with or starts with magnificence and gorgeousness of the description of the royal palace. We have the same in Edward II with the arrival of Gaveston. It presents, chronicle play presents two types of kings, strong or weak. In Edward II, we have the weaker version of the king. And throughout the play, chronicle play shows or make a display of strong note of patriotism. And then the final important thing about the chronicle play is that chronicle play renews the stories of the past with a modern taste and fashion. So these are the five important issues regarding chronicle play that you must remember. So here is a character map. In the middle you see Edward II, and in the bottom you get Kent, his brother. On the right you get Isabella, his wife. In the right you get Prince Edward, his son. On the top, Spencer the junior. He is a very ambitious and clever man, but he supports the king. On the left you get Gaveston. He is the friend of Edward II. Probably he brings the tragedy in the state. Younger Mortimer, he is the leader of the baron, and he is a power hungry as well. Then come to the summary. Act 1 and Scene 1. What happens here? In the Act 1 and the Scene 1, Gaveston starts reading a letter, and the letter has come from Edward II. So this is a letter that has invited Gaveston to come back to England. Then you can think that why Gaveston will be called back, as we know that Edward I was earlier in a situation to banish Gaveston. So the father Edward I banished Gaveston. The son Edward II, he recalled Gaveston. So that's why out of delight Gaveston reads the letter of coming back to England. And then what happens there? Bullet 2, with the elder Edward out of the way. Edward II is inviting Gaveston to return and share the kingdom. So look at this. This is not only simply an invitation by Edward II to Gaveston, rather as if he has invited Gaveston, as if they are going to together share the state, share the kingdom. Gaveston muses about the surrounding himself. So this is the third important aspect of the scene 1, act 1, scene 1, that is King Edward II has arranged everything to entertain his friend, wanton poets, pleasant wits, okay, men like the stars. These are the important accommodation he has made to entertain his friend. Then act 1 and scene 1 goes. So the moment Gaveston has come back and Edward II has entertained him, this is the moment this displeases the barons like Lancaster and Mortimer. Okay, this is something that is the main negative aspect of the play that you see in the first scene. And then what happens here? Look at the third bullet. Now enters the Bishop of Coventry, the one directly responsible for Gaveston's punishment. So this includes another important aspect of the play where Gaveston comes to know that Bishop of Coventry is the main responsible figure who proposed Edward I to banish Gaveston. So this is where, after coming back from the banishment, Gaveston decides to take revenge on Bishop of Coventry. What he does, Gaveston almost banished Bishop of Coventry to the Tower, and at the same time Gaveston has got hold over his entire property. Then act 1 and scene 2 and scene 3. What happens here? This scene is not so crucial, but still you should remember that with the coming back of Gaveston, the Mortimers, Mortimer refers to younger Mortimer and elder Mortimer. Elder Mortimer is the uncle, and Warwick and Lancaster. So these four barons, basically they joined hand together, and their bondage becomes more stronger when they come to know the story of Bishop of Coventry. So even Bishop of Canterbury also joined them. So look, just imagine, against Gaveston and King Edward II, almost some 4 or 5 people, they have created a group. What is the group? Good. The group includes younger Mortimer, elder Mortimer, Warwick, Lancaster, and Bishop of Canterbury. This is how a kind of an antagonistic force is in formation against the king. Then come to act 1 and scene 4. So what happens here? Look at the bullet 2. The inclusion of the latter clouds the issue somehow, that since Kent has merely acted as a faithful and sober advisor of his brother, and the angry lords admonish the astounded king to rule us better or rem. The king is obsessed with his lover, and he has again claimed that he would let England fleet upon the ocean and wandered to the unfrequented India. So this is very important. Kent, who has remained the brother of the King Edward II, he has been scolded by the barons. And on the other hand, King Edward II is being scolded because King Edward II has started neglecting the royal responsibility as a king. So the king is all concentrated on the friend, that is Gaveston. He has forgotten his responsibility as a king. Okay. Then act 1 and scene 4. In the act 1 and scene 4, we get some picture of the Queen Isabella. Queen Isabella realizes that being left alone with a mourning husband is not to restore him to her, so she attempts to pursue the lords to return Gaveston. What happens here? Isabella ultimately, she knows that she will become alone if the Lord, that is Edward II, goes on neglecting her, and that's why Isabella tries best to bring back Gaveston so that she can regain the love from her husband. In fact, what has happened here, when the Bishop of Coventry was banished to the Tower, the barons were so angry that they also arrested Gaveston. In such a situation, Isabella tries to quit Gaveston so that she can get some love from her husband. Okay, look at the bullet 3. A renewed calm as well as a reminder of the great leaders Alexander, Hercules, Achilles were not impaired by their male lovers. Okay, when Gaveston was banished, in the absence of uh, Gaveston, the condition of the Edward II was as pathetic. Probably he was remembering the friendship of Alexander, he was remembering the friendship of Hercules, he was remembering the friendship of Achilles as recommended, as mentioned in the history. So come to the Act 2 and Scene 1. In the Act 2 and the Scene 1, in this brief scene, the innocent niece of the king muses upon the affection of the abhorred lover, Gaveston. She and the two king's attendants, Baldock and Spencer, believe that Gaveston loves the young lady. So this is very small scene. In this scene, Gibbs basically it was assumed that Gaveston was going to marry the niece of Edward II. It was simply a kind of an assumption. Then come to Act 2 and Scene 2. What happens here? Edward refuses to perform his kingly duty and ransom one of his warriors. So once again, the issue rises that King Edward II, he denies to perform his royal duty, and even he denies to give ransom when Mortimer's father was being arrested by the Scottish enemy. So this is the two important issue. King does not perform his royal duty. King does not give ransom when Mortimer's father was arrested. So these all agitated the barons. Act 2, Scene 3 and Scene 4. Kent is accepted by the rebels and they leave together to attack Gaveston and Edward. Look at this is the moment. Earlier in the camp of the baron, there was younger Mortimer, elder Mortimer, Warwick, Lancaster, Bishop of Canterbury. 5 people in the baron's camp. But what happened there? Even king's brother Kent, he has also joined the party. So this is how now the baron, they almost 6 members, they form an antagonistic troop against the king. What happens there? The two try to escape, but Isabella betrays them to the arriving nobles. She and Mortimer exchange admiring words and setting the stage for their liaison. So this is where once again another thing, even Queen Isabella, she comes to meet Mortimer. In fact, her purpose is to somehow quit Gaveston, because if Gaveston is being quitted, then Isabella will be able to get some love from her husband. That's why Isabella and Mortimer, they were exchanging some admiring words. Act 2 and Scene 5, what happens there? Gaveston is captured and is to be executed for the country's cause. So what the baron, they have ultimately decided in the Scene 5 of Act 2, the barons have decided to execute Gaveston, because they know that if Gaveston remains in the state, King Edward will neither perform his royal duty and he will start basically neglecting the royal responsibility. In such a situation, it was decided that Gaveston should be executed. Then come to the Act 3, Scene 1. While waiting for the king's visit, Gaveston is surprised by the Warwick, who takes him away to be killed. So in the Act 3, Scene 1, all preparation was done and probably Gaveston will be killed. So look at the word, look at the second bullet. Hugh Spencer Sr. comes to Edward with the 1400 men to defend him and for this display of the royalty. In fact, look at this. Two political in fact groups had been created. One is of the barons, another is of the king. So this time king is being supported by the penser with 400 men. But what has happened here, Bill Edward bildly dispenses Isabella and their 14-year-old son to resolve this, being more interested in the Gaveston fate. Ondrell arrives to announce that Gaveston is dead. So what happens here in the Act 3, Scene 2, Gaveston has been executed. Okay, Act 3, Scene 3, what happens here? Two factions meet in arms and Edward is victorious. He sends the errant nobles to the tower. So this is the final important thing in the Act 3 and Scene 3. Gaveston was already executed and the king has been so shocked by Gaveston's death, probably with the support of some 400 men from Spencer. Gaveston has arrested all the barons and Gaveston has sent them to the towers. So Act 4 and Scene 1. What you get here in this Act 4 and Scene 1, Kent notices that Mortimer and Isabella do kiss while they conspire. Okay, this is where I need to comment something on the character of younger Mortimer. Generally, younger Mortimer is a character with some Machiavellian touch. If I say that Machiavellian touch, then I need to remind you that the characters who have Machiavellian touch, they generally are very much ambitious. They are very hungry and very ambitious of power, and to get the power they can do anything recklessly. And what is more important for such kind of Machiavellian character, this power hungry mind setup, this power craving mind setup becomes the principal cause of their fall. So this is where you see that earlier Mortimer was playing the role of a leader among the barons, and as if his temperament was to some extent patriotic spirit he was showing. But Kent has observed that it has been a kind of a secret extramarital affair between younger Mortimer and Isabella. So Isabella has come for a kind of a solace so that he can get back her husband's love. On the other hand, what has happened here, Mortimer and Isabella, they became involved in a kind of an affair. So Act 4 and Scene 1 shows this. And then Act 4 and Scene 6. Act 4 and Scene 6. King has taken refuge at a monastery in the northern England, and where he is caught by Leicester. Edward resigns himself to his fate as he takes his leave of his remaining loyal nobles. What happens here? The king in the fourth act has taken refuge in the northern part of the England. Almost he has resigned to his fate, meaning he is not expecting anything good from his fate. In the Act 5 and Scene 1, the king is disposed, but his crown is needed to instate the new king. Edward at first refuses it to give up, knowing that it will be effectively belong to Mortimer, not to his young son. And then, however, he finally relents and sending along the crown to a handkerchief wet with his tears to be given to the estranged wife. So what happens? Edward, he knows that if he does not remain king anymore, if the kingship is given to his son Prince Edward II, he knows very well that it will be kind of a de facto kingship, meaning my son will Edward the Third will only bear the name of king, but actually the real kingship will be controlled by younger Mortimer. This is something that Edward could imagine. In the Act 5 and Scene 2, Mortimer makes fortune's wheel turn as he pleases. and as he controls the kingdom through the princess, Mortimer is content to let Edward II rot in the cell, as if Mortimer, he knows that Mortimer, once again, you see that kind of a Machiavellian temperament in his character. He knows that there is a fortune, and the fortune wills, it will reach you ups and downs. If it is a fortune, the wheel is always running, and you meet up and down in your career. And on the other hand, Mortimer also knows that he has given a kind of a on almost a life suspended to Edward II. Edward II is left in the cell so that he is rotten and dead. In the Act 5 and Scene 3, what happens here? Act 5 and Scene 3, King Edward II is kept in a kind of a prison-like place. Act 4 and Act 5 and Scene 4, Mortimer hires Lightborn and commit the regicide. This is the important scene, what we know as a murder scene. In the Act 4, Act 5 and Scene 4, Mortimer has appointed some professional killer to kill basically King Edward II. As we know that King Edward II is already in the cell among the dark water. And what happens there? Look at the next picture. Act 5 and Scene 5 and Scene 6. Finally, the king screams indicate that he has been impaled upon the instrument. It was a kind of a very pathetic death that King Edward II met. It was in fact, King Edward II was chained in the dirty water, and what happens there? Upon King Edward II, a wooden structure was put, and upon the wooden structure, all the murderers, they trample him to death, meaning King Edward II was stamped to death. That is the story. And in such a situation, the queen begs her son more urgently for mercy on Mortimer than she did for her king, but Mortimer accepts his fate. In such a situation, almost this is the last scene of the play. In the last scene of the play, Queen Isabella, she begs her son, meaning Prince Edward has already become the Prince of England. The mother was begging not for herself but for Mortimer. But as Mortimer is a Machiavellian temper, probably he will never beg pardon from anybody, because he is ambitious, he is a proud, full of vanity, he is a greedy and power craving, and that's why in such a situation he was not going to beg pardon from anybody. In such a situation, Edward III shows himself decisive and fair. Unlike his father, he is not a weak king, he is a strong king and remains strong and strict in his decision. So this is how in the final scene, all the barons, including Mortimer and his mother, were basically sent to the tower. This is how the tragedy of Edward II comes to an end. And if you say that, sir, what are the important topic we need to study about Edward II, then first important topic is you need to study Edward II as a chronicle play. You must show what are the fundamental features of a chronicle play are present in Edward II. First important thing is the story of Edward II is adapted from Holinshed Chronicle. So it is based on a chronicle. This is the one important thing. Second important thing, chronicle play begins with magnificence of the description of a royal palace. You get, when Gaveston returns to the court, you get the magnificence of the description. Chronicle play presents two types of kings, weak king or strong kings. So undoubtedly Edward II is a weak king, but his son Edward III is a strong king. And undoubtedly, if you closely study the character of Mortimer, he undoubtedly presents the true spirit of patriotism. Chronicle play must show the spirit of patriotism. This is the first topic. The second topic is character of Gaveston. So we have to discover multiple aspects of the character of Gaveston. Gaveston as a friend, Gaveston as a lover, Gaveston as a companion, Gaveston as an enemy to the Baron, and uh, this is how you need to show some 3 or 4 aspects of his character. And ultimately the third topic, irony of kingship. So in the discussion of the topic of irony of kingship, you need to study much on the character of Edward II. And then finally the character of younger Mortimer. That is very important. When you discuss the character of younger Mortimer, you need to show that younger Mortimer as a good orator, as a good leader. He's a good orator, he's a good leader, he's a good patriot, and undoubtedly a Machiavellian character. And finally he meets a pathetic fall in his life. And the fifth aspect, the relationship between Mortimer and Isabella. Okay, we know that Mortimer and Isabella met Mortimer to get some help from Mortimer, but what happened with them? They ultimately became involved in a kind of an irrational affair. In the sixth topic, importance of the death scene, you need to describe how King Edward II was pathetically trampled to death in a prison chamber. And finally, the seventh topic is importance of the abdication scene. What is the abdication scene? Abdication means to dethrone someone from power slowly. You need to show how Edward II was conspired to abdicate from his power. Okay, how in the leadership of younger Mortimer, okay, Edward II was abdicated from his position as a king, meaning the slow dethronement of a king. How a king is displaced from his power slowly and gradually. So these are the important topics you need to remember for your exam. Thank you very much.